This week on Barely Homesteading, an unboxing video. So this week we want to unbox the latest addition to the homestead. We got a big industrial chipper. So this is the DCH7 MechMaxx chipper. We purchased this ourselves, so there is no ties between us and the company. This is not a paid promotion in any way. So we're going to give you an honest review of what this chipper is, how it works, how reliable it is, all those good things. But first, we got to get it unboxed and get it put together. So I've got the shipping frame disassembled as much as I think we need to get this out. I've actually am pretty impressed with this frame. It's a solid tube steel frame, very well constructed, very solid, which I'm very appreciative of, because without this solid frame, I have no idea how we've gotten this out of our truck. So when the shipping company contacted me about delivery of this, they basically told me flat out they were not coming onto the property. They did not like the rural nature of our property, and so they're not coming here. So we met at another place. They loaded it onto the truck, and then I had to get off the truck. And so to lift it up out of the truck, we had to basically use the skid steer to lift it up by the frame to get it out. So I'm very happy with this solid frame that it was shipped in. The other thing is that with this solid tube steel, I'm already coming up with ideas that I'm going to be using this for in future projects when I get the welder and the plasma cutter out. So I'm going to make good use of this material, not just for the shipping of the chipper. So let's get this out of here, get the frame off, get this up on some stands so that we can get the rest of the assembly done. All right, a little hairy there, getting up on the jack stands, but we got it up. So now first thing is to get the axle on and the wheels on so that it's got some stability. So it sounds like some of the hardware for the muffler ended up in the muffler. So that's a strike against the packaging that they shipped everything with. If your hardware can get loose and just fall out or fall inside of something, that's not a good sign. So I'll have to go get some new hardware, basically some nuts, to completely put the muffler in, but I can at least get it in now enough that it will stay put, but we won't be able to fire it up yet. All right, try to put the fuel tank in, and it doesn't seem to fit. Doesn't match the description in the manual, and where the hydraulic hoses are routed, it just doesn't want to fit. So I'm gonna have to do some research and see if this is even the right fuel tank for this model of chipper. It's getting late, so I'm gonna call it a night for now. And after I do some research, we'll pick it up and hopefully be able to finish this off. All right, it's the next day. I've done some research on that fuel tank, and it's actually the right fuel tank. It's just a really lousy design. So we're gonna get this in here as best we can and see how it works. All right, so to get this fuel tank in, I had to reroute 2 hoses going to the hydraulic motor for the hydraulic infeed just to get the pump in, or excuse me, the fuel tank in. Then we had to get a bunch of these hoses to sit up on top of this, and once you get it in, here's the filler cap for the tank, which is right under the structure. There's no way to now fill this up with a regular gas can. And so we're gonna have some sort of hose or funnel to be able to get down into this to be able to fill it up with gasoline. This is probably one of the worst designs I have ever seen. And this is coming from a design engineer with almost 30 years of experience in the industry. This is absolutely terrible. So MechMaxx, if you are watching this, please take note. This fuel tank design is garbage.
Oh, dogs, don't lick the camera.
Okay, dogs, come on.
Okay.
All right, so once again, access here is an issue. You can see the heads of the bolts to attach the muffler to the bracket, and there's no way to get a hand through here. And so while it's not as bad as the gas tank was, it's still a pretty poor design. All right, so I put the brackets on for the mud flap backwards, so I got to flip those around. and then I can put the fenders on, the mud fenders. Now, there is no instructions in the manual on how to route the fuel line to the engine. So what I did, you can see the fuel line right here, brought it around over here and up. It does come with a couple of stick-on clamps to be able to hold it down, but that seemed like the safest place to route it so that it doesn't get caught on anything if we rub up against something as we're hauling it, so we don't yank that fuel line off. We've been using the chipper every week for the past couple of months, and so we're ready to do a review of it now. In order to fill the gas tank, we have to use a funnel because of the ridiculous design that they have of where the gas cap, where the filler cap is for the gas tank, which is a big drawback. You got to remember to not only bring the gas can, but a funnel when you're out chipping on the property. Now, I will say that the tank has a pretty good capacity. We can run consistently for 2 hours on 1 tank of gas. The other thing about this funnel is that we have to make sure that it's a bendable funnel in order to get in where that filler hole is. A straight funnel, depending upon the size, might be able to fit in there, but it's going to be really, really tight. The other thing is you need to make sure you get a funnel that is rated for gasoline. The first funnel that we got, the seal degraded about halfway through filling the tank and started leaking gas everywhere. Another thing that I'll mention about the maintenance is you want to make sure that you get these bearings greased on a regular basis. There's one right here for the main flywheel, and then on the other side you've got one right here for the bearing on the other side of the hydraulic feed-in. You want to make sure that you get grease in there and keep those well greased and lubed so that the chipper will last a long time. Now, this grease nipple for the main flywheel on our particular one, the thread in the housing was a little oversized, and so that grease nipple pulled out when we were actually trying to get the grease gun off. So keep that in mind. You want to be a little careful with these grease nipples when you're greasing the bearings. All right, I don't know how well you can see in here, but these are the wheels for the hydraulic infeed, and you can see on that top wheel on the right hand side there is a large gap. That gap tends to grab branches that'll fit in it and they'll get stuck, and you'll see that as we are chipping here in a little bit. I'll try to point out when a branch gets stuck there and we have to reverse the infeed to get it out and get it fed in right. So to fix that, what I'm probably going to end up doing, because I don't think I can move that wheel right to left, is I'm going to have to weld a plate on this side just so that branches can't get in there. The other thing that I'll say about this hydraulic infeed is that you'll see that the teeth on those wheels are pretty sharp. And what we have found is that on branches that are a little greener, those teeth will just cut a groove in the branch rather than pulling it in sometimes, which is, again, a pain. I don't really have a good way of fixing that. I'm guessing that as the teeth just dull, that it will get better over time. But right now it's a pain, like I said, on branches that are a little greener.
All right, guys, start getting sticks.
Right here you can see where those teeth are cutting a groove in the branch rather than pulling it through because they're too sharp. And they're not clamping down, they're just cutting grooves in it. We've now had the chipper for about 3 months. We've been using it pretty much every week, once a week. So we're getting close to our 50-hour maintenance on this. Because we've used it so much, I think we can give a pretty honest review of the chipper. So first off, assembly. Assembly was pretty rough. First off, the delivery was an issue. We couldn't get it delivered directly to the homestead. Getting it out of the shipping container wasn't too bad, but if you didn't have a forklift or a tractor to get it out, it would have been a problem. And then, particularly during the assembly, the gas tank and the muffler were very difficult to get assembled. Access was very tight. Things didn't want to fit. We had to reroute existing hydraulic lines to get the fuel tank in. So assembly was very, very problematic. To give a score to that, honestly, I couldn't give you better than 3 out of 5 on assembly of this. It was just such a pain. Talking about ease of use, our chipper, it starts every time. Unfortunately, those issues with the hydraulic infeed, where the teeth are too sharp and they're cutting grooves rather than pulling in, and the fact that the teeth of the hydraulic infeed do not come down close enough to actually be able to grab smaller things is another issue with the use. In addition, the fact that the rollers for the hydraulic infeed, there's a big gap between the roller and the side of the chute where things can get caught is another issue, because things get caught, and that's really a safety issue if you're trying to manhandle that around to get it to go in rather than the hydraulic infeed just bringing it in. And then lastly, the ease of use. Having to always have a funnel to fill that gas tank is a real pain. It's because of where the funnel is, it's hard to see how much fuel you've got in there. There's been a couple of times when I've almost overfilled it. And so the filler cap for that fuel tank, if it would just get moved so you wouldn't need a funnel, this would make it much more easy to use and to operate. So for those drawbacks on ease of use, again, I have to be honest, I can only give it about a 3 out of 5. Lastly, reliability. This thing has been very reliable. Every time we've gone to start it, whether it's hot, cold, doesn't matter, it starts right up. Now, we did pay for the Honda engine rather than the Chinese engine. I don't know if the Chinese engine would be any more or less reliable, but at least the Honda version is very reliable. And we've been keeping up with the regular lube maintenance and things, and so far it has been very reliable. So for reliability, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5, because like I said, every time we use it, it starts up, it chips, if you can get it actually to go in. and we have chipped a lot. So overall, about the best I can do here is probably a 3.5 out of 5 bear paws from the Homesteading review for this DCH7 chipper. I really want to give it a better review than that, but I can't honestly do that. There's just too many issues with the assembly and the everyday ease of use to give it a better score than that. So would we buy this again? Maybe. Knowing what I know now, I would definitely go in with a lot more trepidation on certain things, and might actually be willing to pay more than we paid for this for something that's going to be easier to use and potentially even easier to assemble. So it's hard to say if I would do this again or not, but we've already done it, so we're making the best of what we have. And I think with some adjustments, and like I talked about earlier, putting some plates in that chute to funnel the material into the hydraulic infeed teeth better, this might actually be better. But why am I needing to modify this? It should just work out of the box, and it doesn't. So with that, this is Lumberjack from Barely Homesteading, and our chipper saying use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.